Alright everyone, what is up? It's your boy Sasuke here, and today, welcome back to another spanking hot what if part, and it's part 3 of what if Naruto was turned into a female Kitsune. So, without further ado, let's get on with it. As last time, there was a great battle. They have already defeated 4 out of 9. They had already defeated 4 out of 9 of the Biju, as Kurama, along with Kushina, tried to stop Narutomi and Akari. Before they could turn Narutomi back into human or even defeat Narutomi would begin releasing a flurry of attacks, which would quickly defeat Kurama and Kushina, as the two would base as well. Long story short, Kushina and Kurama are dead. And now Kurama is back in the Geto statue. As we go to Zetsu's point of view, as he basically is walking by as he senses a lot of chakra coming from the Geto statue. Hold on. Sorry. Had to drink a friggin' Gatorade. I'm just kidding. I had to drink my Coke. Diet Coke. I'm kidding, it ain't diet either. But anyways, back to the what if. As Zetsu's walking by the Geto statue or the Ten Tails husk, and he notices this large amount of chakra coming off of it. As he basically looks inside of the Geto statue and sees 5 chakras. 5 different chakra types. As he then sees, 5 of the 9 Biju. He then says, "How did you even get here?" As it then said, "We died." As Zetsu, being confused, then says, "To who?" As I then say, Kurama's daughter and the Jinchuriki of Kurama's soul, who Kurama's daughter turned into her sister. As Zetsu would then say, "Wait a minute. We have 2 immortal beings strong as half of the 10 tails' strength." As he would begin flailing around in fear, as he'd say, "Ah!" As then he would get a message from his head saying, "Do not worry, Zetsu. Do not be stressed." Well, yes, they are stronger than the 10 tails. Tails, I'm assure you that they will not harm or try to stop us. As Zetsu would then say, "How are you so sure, or Mother Kaguya? How are you so sure, Mother?" As Kaguya would then say, "Because I have been watching them closely and carefully ever since I've recently woken up. And they're just children. They're fighting strong beings to gain strong abilities. However, once they've defeated all 9, they will have already gained their abilities. Therefore, they will not require higher to attack the 10 tails." As she would then say, "Hey, also, once I am free, I would like to see all the Kitsune on Earth. earth in front of me. As Zetsu would then say, what do you mean like that? Dead? Chained up? As she then says, no, I mean I'd like to just see them in one room, doing whatever they want. As Zetsu would then say, okay, mother. As Kaguya basically would leave. And as basically Zetsu would stop talking to Kaguya, as he would then say, oh well, as he'd sink through the ground. Now, we go to Narutomi and Akari, as Akari's point of view, as the two sisters, and as Narutomi is now completely a full Kitsune. It is now irreversible by any and all means. Meaning there's no jutsu possible, no curse possible, no chakra, no nothing possible to turn her back into a human. Human male, not even a human female. As she is now basically a god. As the two sisters are basically swimming around in their giant pool, which they made out of Isobu's shell. As well, basically the two siblings would be just talking with each other. As well, Narutomi and her sister would be talking about what they were going to do next. As suddenly, Narutomi's stomach would begin to grumble. Not for normal food, but for souls. Pause, allow me to explain something that I've come up with. Now, this has nothing to do with actual Kitsune. This is just a part of this what if, so do not take it seriously. Okay? Okay. Basically, instead of devouring normal food when they're hungry for souls, a Kitsune can basically grab and can basically hold a human being inside of all of their tails, as they can then basically squeeze their tails together and devour the human being whole. As the human being will basically be compacted into the purest of pure forms of chakra, which will go through the tails and into, well, the Kitsune. As that only exists for this what if, do not take it seriously and do not yell at me in the comments for it. Okay? Okay. As, yeah. Basically, overpowered crap. I'm very overpowered crap. As the two would basically walk, and would then say, and as Narutomi would then say, sis, do you know where we can find some strong chakra, and where we can find a village with good chakra users? Cause I'm hungry. As Akari would then say, I know a place. This place has very strong chakra users. It's called the Leaf Village. As Narutomi would then say, ooh, is it like one of the big five? As you would then say, yes. It's like one of the big five. In fact, it's the strongest village out of them all. As Narutomi would say, wow. Ooh, that sounds, those people there must be delicious. If they are in the strongest village out of the big five. As Akari would then say, yep, little sis. Yep, indeed. As the two would basically turn invisible and intangible as they begin flying to the Leaf Village. Basically, they'd be like, it would literally, you basically would think it's just wind. As the two would basically fly over to the Leaf Village. As when they got there, the two would basically warp reality to make them look like normal humans. As they'd be walking around, as Narutomi would be looking around for the strongest of the strong people. The strongest people who would make good, who would make good appetizers. And she would see then see 4 people. 3 girls and 1 boy. As the 3 girls were named Ino, Sakura, and Hinata. As the 1 boy was named Sasuke. As she would then say, hey, sis. As Akari would look down at Narutomi and say, yes, Narutomi? As Narutomi would then say, look. Those two, the girl with the purple eyes, and the girl who looks like she's blind, and the boy with black hair. Look at them. I want them. As Narutomi and as Akari then says, well, why don't you go over there and eat them? As she then says, I don't want to eat them. I want them as people. I want them as siblings. As Akari would then say, huh? Oh, you'd like some company, huh? Well, okay then, big sis. Okay then, little sis. Let's go get us some, sisters. As Akari and Narutomi would then say, yay! As the two would basically walk to where the 4 were, as Akari would basically telepathically say, hey to Narutomi, what do we do about the other 2 girls? As Narutomi then says, I'll get the one with the blonde. I'll get the one with the blonde hair when she leaves, and I'll get the one with the blonde hair when these 2 leave. You get the one with the pink hair. As Akari then says, deal. As basically Hinata and Sasuke would leave back to their compounds. Sasuke, of course, would leave to the Uchiha compound, which was empty, as Hinata would walk over to the Hyuga compound. As the 2 would basically go their separate way, and as the 2 girls, Sakura and Ino, would go their separate ways. Sakura would begin walking to her home, as Ino would begin walking back to the flower shop and would begin walking over to her flower shop. However, both of them would reach a alleyway. Not the same exact alleyway, but different alleyways in the Leaf Village. As it would be nighttime, everyone would be home, so no one would be able to see what was going on, as Narutomi would jump at Ino. And grab her with three of her tails. One wrapping around her waist, two wrapping around her arms. As she would then open the other 6 tails, and as she would lay the other 6 tails down in a flat position to the point where her tails were basically making a bed, as Ino would have been set in the middle of this bed. As Narutomi would then say, "Okay, now please don't struggle. If you don't struggle, maybe Big Sis will reward me for having a good meal." As she would then say, "Oh well, I don't know your name, but goodbye. I'm Meal." But goodbye, Meal. As suddenly all 9 tails would begin to lift up around Ino, to the point where it'd be like a flower, and to the point where it would be like a flower blossom, and to the point where, basically imagine a giant flower. Now imagine the petals closing up around the flower, to the point where it looks like a rose, except even closer, held together to the point where there's no escape. As the tails would suddenly begin to shake and tighten, as there would be muffled screaming and pain, and then there would be a moaning sound, and then silence. As suddenly blue chakra would flow out through the tails and into Narutomi's stomach, as she would then say, "Ooh, that was a good meal. I'll rate it 7 out of 10. Yeah, very good indeed. Very good indeed." As she would then begin walking away, as Akari, the Ford, damn you, kitten. Sorry, my cat just came out of nowhere and dug her claw into my skin. Ouchie. Jeez. Anyways, back to the what if. Sorry about that. As Narutomi would and as with Akari, basically Sakura would be walking the same way, home, as Two Tails would have grabbed her by the legs and swung her basically onto 6 other tails, which were laying flat down, same position as the same way with Narutomi. As the 2 tails would drop her right in the middle of this giant bed made of tails, as suddenly they would begin to swirl up around her and tighten, as there would be a high-pitched banshee scream, and then a crush of bones. As while Narutomi basically ate Ino softer from looking into Naruto's memories, Akari could see that, well, her sister, who was once a man who was once a boy, had a giant crush on this girl. But she refused him and broke his heart so many times, as she would want to crush her bones by while devouring her as a sort of sign of I hate you for this. As 10 minutes later, there would be still sounds of bones being crushed, as then blue chakra would flow out of the tails and into her stomach, as she would then do a small little cute burp. I should then say, "Oh dear, oh dear, excuse me. Looks like I must have gotten a bit reckless with my food." As she would then open her tails, and there would be nothing left, not even a tiny fragment of bone. As the two would basically as Akari would basically walk away. As the two sisters would walk out, would basically turn invisible and intangible, as they'd be, well, floating above a tree in the middle of the Leaf Village. As Narutomi and Akari would wait till it was completely nighttime, to the point where no one would even be awake. As they would arrive to the two compounds, Narutomi would arrive at the Uchiha compound, Akari would arrive at the Hyuga compound. As Akari would be basically very quiet, but, well, someone would have been up. This, of course, being Hinata Hyuga. As she then says, "Who's there?" As Akari then says, "Well, I guess since you can see chakra with your Ryakugans, it isn't really fun sneaking up on you." As Akari would show herself as a 8-tailed Kitsune. As she would say, My name is Akari. I am one of the Nine Tails' two original daughters." As she then says, I've looked through my newest sister's old memories before draining them out of her and erasing them completely. And, what I found is that you used to like her. As Hinata then says, "Wait, what'd you do to Naruto? What'd you do to Naruto-kun?" Hinata says. As Akari then says, "Oh, nothing at all. I'm just letting you know that that Naruto is no more, and now there is only Narutomi. However, if you still like her, of course, you can and be with her. But, you'll lose your memories and become a Kitsune, like me and Narutomi." As Hinata would then look at Akari and would begin thinking, as she would say, Alright, fine. I'll do it." As as Akari's eyes would basically be like Hisoka's, except more sinister, as she would then say, "Perfect." Now, sorry about this, but I can't have you trying to, I can't have I can't have your reflexes of accidentally waking up a Hyuga member. So, night-night. As she would then, and basically, using her reality warping ability, she would warp reality to the point where there was chloroform on the tip, just a tiny bit of chloroform on one of her tails, as she would shove the part of the tail right in front of Hinata's face, as Hinata would fall over unconscious, as she would say, "There we go, there we go," Akari would say, as we basically, at the same time, go over to the Uchiha compound. As it's empty, the only person there is Sasuke. As Sasuke is basically doing some late night training. As he's basically doing push-ups, and he says, "Must kill Itachi Uchiha! Must kill Itachi Uchiha!" with every single push-up. As, well, he's on like his 57th round of push-ups, as suddenly a yellow tail wraps around his arm, stopping him from doing his push-ups. As he then says, "Huh? Who's there?" As then Narutomi appears and says, "Why, tell me, you little old me." As Sasuke then says, "Dobe? Where have you been?" As she then says, "I do not know who this Dobe is. My name's Narutomi. My name's Narutomi." As Sasuke then says, "Dobe, are you okay? Hey, what happened to you? You're a girl and you have tails and ears and slit eyes and whiskers and claws and..." As then she says, "Hush." So, Sasuke Uchiha, am I right? As Sasuke would then say, "Yes." So, if you aren't the Dobe, then who are you? As she then says, "My name is Narutomi." My name is Narutomi. I am the younger sister of Akari. As Sasuke then says, "Who's Akari?" As Narutomi then says, "My elder sister, and my older sister, and my big sis. We go around and destroy villages and do a whole bunch of fun stuff. As a family, we eat, play, sometimes kiss, smooch, cuddle, that type of stuff that families do." As Sasuke would not exactly remember what families did and what families were like. As I must say that Itachi did not kill the Uchiha when he was like 4. Instead, Itachi would have killed the Uchiha when Sasuke was 1. As well, Sasuke basically would have no idea what a family was like. As Narutomi would then say, "Hey, anyways, I heard that you have no family. Is that right?" Um, let's see. Elder brother killed your entire family. Emily in about 5 minutes. She says, as Sasuke then says, "Don't even mention him. Don't even mention him." As he activates his one Tomoe Sharingan. As Narutomi then says, "Ooh, that's a pretty eye. I decided you will make an excellent excellent sister." As Sasuke then says, "Huh?" As she then says, "Oh, right, I forgot the offer." As she then says, "Look, I understand that that you have no family. But I offer you a chance to be a part of mine." As she would open her hand toward Sasuke in like a shaking movement. As Sasuke would then take her hand and say, "Sure, I'll be a part of your family." Clearly not knowing what's about to happen. As she would then say, "Okay, now, this is just so you don't do any sort of weird things that your eye may have." As she would then do the same exact thing that Akari did with the chloroform on her tail. As Sasuke would be knocked out unconscious. As about 1 hour later, the two would be unconscious in two chairs. Chairs at, well, Akari and Narutomi's home, which would be known as the Kitsune household. And the House of Kitsune. Or the Kitsu House, as that is the last name. Akari Kitsu and Narutomi Kitsu. As the two sisters would basically be at their home, just having a regular day. As, well, they would basically, Akari would would basically create and with her reality ability, she would create a scroll kunai connected to a kunai and chain. And she would then put two different symbols, one of the Uchiha on right where Hinata's chest was and heart was, as Narutomi would put a symbol of the Hyuga right where Sasuke's heart was. As suddenly the two symbols would glow blue. As blue chakra and humanity would go through the kunais, down through the chains, and into the scrolls. As Akari would then snap her fingers, and the two scrolls would incinerate into flames, and into hellish flames. As Akari would then say, "Alright, dear sister, do you want me to, do it, or do you want to?" As Narutomi would then say, "How about I do one, you do one?" As Akari would then say, "Okay, I'll get the Hyuga, and I'll get the one with the purple hair, you get the one with the black hair." as they'd say, as Narutomi would then say, yes. As she would go over to the unconscious Sasuke, as she would basically grab a syringe and would put it in her wrist, as she would then bring out a vial of blood, a syringe of blood, and inject it into the symbol where Sasuke's heart will. I mean, that was right next to Sasuke, right above Sasuke's heart. As suddenly the symbol would glow red, as a red chakra would pour out of Sasuke. As suddenly the symbol would disappear entirely. As the same thing would happen with Hinata with Akari's blood. As suddenly the two would then change. As the two would lose their humane features. And would lose their humanity entirely. As for Sasuke, he has the 72-hour rule. As for Hinata, she only has 24 hours of humanity left. Now y'all might be wondering, wait, why 72 hours for Sasuke? Well, of course, Sasuke and Naruto were the reincarnations of Indra and Ashura. Therefore, these 72 hours is basically 48 more hours of Indra and Ashura's spirits trying to battle against the demonic chakra consumption of Naruto and Sasuke. As Ashura has been defeated a while ago. As Ashura has already been defeated. As Indra, and as we go into Indra's and Sasuke's mindscape, as we see Indra basically with two Chidoris in hand, trying to slice and fight off against against what appears to be a sort of red fiery chakra, as he cannot best it, and it is already taking hold of him, as Indra's entire right arm is already being disintegrated, as Indra then says, "No! No!" As we go back to the actual world, as Sasuke grows 2 ears, and 7 tails. As Hinata's hair gets extremely long, she grows 2 ears and 6 tails. As this is what Sasuke looks like in his fox form, and this is what Hinata looks like in her fox form. As Akari then says, now that that's done, they need new names. As she then says, how about, and as Narutomi then says, how about we name the one with the purple hair Hima. As Akari would then say, okay, then how about our new sister with the black and red? As Narutomi would then say, Sasora. How about Sasura? How about Sasura? As she would then, as Akari would then say, okay, wake them up, as they would basically would shake would shake the two awake, as they would be memoryless, and as they would have no memories of who they were, as they would say, what's our name? Who are we? Where are we? As Akari would then say, you, pointing to Hinata, would then say, your name is Hima. And you, pointing to Sasuke, your name is Sasura. You are me and my sister's little sisters. My new little sisters. Okay? I'm Akari, and she's Narutomi. Pointing over to Narutomi. As Narutomi would then say, oh my god, they look so cute. As the four Kitsune girls would basically begin chatting and talking. As we skip one whole 24 hours, Hinata is now completely immortal, and now there is only Hima left. As Sasura, basically, now only Indra is left, no longer Sasuke's humanity, as Indra's trying to fight off against the demonic chakra, but he cannot, as he basically just gives in early. As, well, Sasura, now only Sasura remains. As the two basically, the four sisters, basically events, and basically the four sisters turn into their fox forms and go onto a ginormous bed of sorts, as they then begin, rubbing against each other, licking each other, and kissing each other, and then the four basically then cuddle together. As we go to the moon, as Kaguya has been watching Akari and Narutomi, as she then says, so that's how it happens. Interesting. So it appears that once the humanity is drained out completely, and once the human chakra is drained out completely, they then inject them with their blood and turn them into Kitsune. That indeed does sound like a perfect way to create immortal. That does indeed sound like a perfect way to turn mortals into immortal beings. As Kaguya basically begins drooling in the seal, and she then says, oh, I can't help it. Oh, I can't hold it any longer. I need to get out of here right now. Ooh, I need to get out of here. As she then says, I need to get out of here, and I need those Kitsune. I need them. As, hold on, y'all might be wondering, why is Kaguya obsessing over Kitsune? I'ma say, just for this what if only, that the Otsutsuki race, basically while being immortal and basically gods, had only one rival. a sort of sub-Kitsune species, which Kaguya would have become fascinated with, as the sub-Kitsune species was basically furries. Anthropomorphic foxes, basically, as they did not have human skin and only one tail. As Kaguya would have become fascinated with these creatures, and, well, she would want to find a actual Kitsune, as now there were 4 Kitsune on her planet, which was her property. As I'ma say that since she is the princess of the Otsutsuki, she can claim any world. She can claim any world she wants as her own. As Kaguya would have claimed the Earth as her property. As basically, she would have been coming down to renovate it, then would have had Hagoromo and Hamura and all that crap would have happened. As, well, tell me if you guys want to add anyone else into the ship, like, I don't know, maybe a female Momoshiki? Huh? No? Yes? Maybe? I don't know. But yeah, now the ship is basically Kaguya X4 Kitsune. It's a harem, basically. As, well, Kaguya, and well, basically, the next day, the 4 sisters would then go after Chome and Aiken. As basically, I'ma say that the 6-tailed Jinchuriki basically lives in a cave, meditating. Eating in the land of iron. In the land of waves. The Jinchuriki of the 7 tails would still be in the waterfall village. At least I think that's what it's called. Right? Waterfall or lightning. I cannot remember. For Jesus Christ. Reiki. As anyways, the 2 would basically, and the 4 sisters would basically charge. As 2 would go after the 7 tails, 2 would go after the 6 tails. Narutomi and Sasura would go after the 6 tails, as Hima and Akari would go after the 7 tails. As Hima would basically... Now, first we go to Narutomi and Sasura. As Narutomi would want to see what power that Sasura had. As Sasura would have lightning and fire. Fire, like normal, because still born as an Uchiha, may not be human anymore, but still has those chakra natures. As this time, she would create and she would create something called a bloodstream Chidori, as suddenly lightning as red as blood would form around her hand as a ginormous sort of great sword made out of lightning would appear, and made out of red lightning would appear, and she would run over to the Six Tails at the speed of light and begin slashing at it. As Narutomi would basically look at Sasura and would say, "Not bad," but as suddenly she would begin warping reality, turning each of her tails into a sort of hand, as she would then summon each a katana in the 9 hands of the tails, and her 2 normal hands, as she would summon a katana in her mouth, and would say, "I'm a fidget spinner," as she would begin spinning around, and basically, it would be like a friggin' Beyblade. Basically, she would be like Levi Ackerman, just dashing around, slicing the crap out of the Six Tails. As the Six Tails would then fall, and after 1 hour of slices and attacks, the Six Tails would fall over, dead. As all that remained of it was a ginormous thing of slime, and an unbreakable bubble. As she would then say, and as the two would basically take the bubble with them, and leave the slime there. As we go to Akari and Hima. Hima would still have the Byakugan, except no blind spot. And no blind spot possibly. As she can not only see all the way around, she can see anything above and underneath her. As basically, she now has 360 times 360 times 360 vision. As she then, begins dashing over, and as she basically begins dashing over at the, 7 Tomo. As suddenly, her 2 hands, basically, she goes into her sort of Sage Mode form, and she activates her sort of Sage Mode thing, or Tensegon form, as her 2 hands are suddenly swarmed with purple flame, as at the speed of light Hima dashes over to the Seven Tails and begins burning and begins puncturing the crap out of its wings. As Akari then says, "Very good, now." And she then has her 8 tails with her mouth and opens her mouth. As she then creates a Biju bomb and a Biju Dama. As she opens her mouth and fires a Biju Dama at an 8-tailed Biju Dama at the Seven Tails. As the Seven Tails then says, "The hell?" And then boom. And then boom. Seven Tails is dead, and the only thing that remains of it is 7 orange, yellow, and green swords. As they take the swords because, who's gonna refuse free weapons? And basically, the Kitsune family gets back to the Kitsune house. As they then go into a sort of training area and begin training and fighting. As we go to Zetsu, who's basically making another round, watching over the Geru statue, as he then sees a green and orange and yellow sort of chakra fly into the ghetto statue, as he then sees a sort of bluish pink chakra fly into the ghetto statue as well, as he then says, "Holy crap, 7 out of 9. Looks like there's only the 4 tails and the 5 tails left." Those Kitsune sure do work fast. As he then says, anyways, back to minding my own business. As he then teleports into the ground, and as he then sinks into the ground, and as back to the Kitsune family, as they're at their home, as the two are in their true Kitsune forms, as basically they're cuddling. As then Akari then thinks, I think it's time. As she then goes over to Narutomi and basically kisses her directly on the lips, French kissing. Narutomi then unbuttons her dress as Sasura and Hima, looking at each other, then do the same. And then, cliffhanger no jutsu. You actually thought. You should have been expecting this. It's from what I did with what if Deku was a half Kwame. You should have expected this. Now, goodbye. And if you guys want a part 4, the like goal is 7 likes. If you give me 7 likes within the first hour of it uploading, there will be a part 4. Okay? So yeah, goodbye.